Then I choose you.
Be cool, baby, okay?
Hey, bitch, come here. Got your motherfucking man, come here.
Mr. Pretty Tony, I mean, you know the rules of the game. I mean, your bitch just chose me. Now, we can settle this like you got some class, so we can get into some gangster shit.
Fuck being on some chill shit. We go 0 to 100, nigga, real quick.
Yo, what up? This is KMGZ on Twitter. This is Thanks for Asking KellzPodcast. I'm back. Sorry for the wait. I don't think it was that long, though. But y'all gotta follow me on Twitter. If y'all follow me on Twitter, I'll be giving y'all updates when I'm gonna do bi-weekly. It's still a weekly podcast, but sometimes it just, if I give y'all a real long one, it don't be nothing to talk about during the week. And so rather than give y'all a whack ass little quick episode with, nothing to discuss, it just make more sense to skip to the next week so it'll be more to talk about. I try not to do that, but look, the job be jobbing, and I was pretty on schedule on the panorama, but that's because we was sitting in the house. It wasn't, so it's easy to do it weekly, but now this shit is back open, so bear with me. I really appreciate y'all listening, not taking y'all for granted, but I'm really trying to give y'all good shows here, and I'm gonna talk about it a little bit, but I've been listening, I listen to different podcasts, and I'm trying to, y'all know I'm a true crime trooper, but I do listen to other stuff too, but it's funny because I know how y'all feel, because this is a podcast out of Triple T podcast. They have delays too, and I'll be cussing their asses out too. So I know how y'all feel, but it's some other podcasts I listen to, and it's maybe y'all don't need to do weekly because this is very dry and not, the most interesting. If y'all need to wait till y'all can have something popping. So, listen, I'm not trying to dick y'all around. I do appreciate y'all listening, but, I'm just trying to give y'all the best content, and I don't, if I don't have nothing, if I drop something on Sunday, and then, I gotta go, I gotta plan the next episode for the next Sunday, and if I drop something on Sunday and it ain't nothing happened that week, then, hold on. Damn, y'all fucked up. I forgot my water. I got a little bit of juice, though, so I gotta make it last. It's allergy season out here, and this motherfucker's back with a vengeance. Anyway, if, it ain't too much to talk about, I don't just want to hop on here babbling is what I'm trying to say. Alright, so, let's get into it. This is episode 336, if I didn't say that at first. So the Yours in Negritude is going out to my QB, Jalen Hurts, that up until today has the highest, deal for a QB in the league. Shout out to his black woman agent, Nicole Lynn, who, when he graduated, I think she said when he left Ohio State. Oh, Lord. Sorry, y'all. The pollen's out here. When he left Ohio State, she shot a Hail Mary in his DMs, hey, if you aren't covered by anybody yet, let's talk. And clearly they talked, because now she's an agent, and I don't know what Lamar Jackson's doing. I keep keep hearing people in the mentions argue that it's not about him having an agent. I just want you guys to know that it is. I understand that there are other players who have done their deal. They probably could have gotten a better deal with an agent also. You're not an expert. These negotiations are with lawyers, and people have been doing this for a long time. You're missing out on all kind of endorsement deals because you don't know and don't have those connections. And I just think that if Lamar Jackson had an agent, a deal would have been done long ago. So, shout out to them. Shout out to the agent. I'm looking forward to the Eagles season this year. I'm very curious to see. I don't expect us to take off like we did last year, 9-0. But I didn't expect that last year either. So I don't know. We've lost some players. I'm curious to see how he's going to do in the draft and for trades. He seems to always pull a rabbit out the hat. But I think as a team, we're still pretty much one of the best ones out there. But hey, summer ain't even here yet, so we worry about football, and it's time to worry about football. But shout out to them. All right, so let's get started. And I got a lot to say on this one. Let me see where do I want to start. All right, let's start with the little shit first. So the NBA playoffs are right now. I told y'all basketball season is way too long for me. I don't tend to pay too much attention. Well, I don't pay attention to basketball at all during football season. And then I tend to not really start paying attention to it because the finals are in June. So that means you could really start paying attention to it in March, April, and still have almost, 4 or 5 months of basketball. I don't know why the basketball season is so long. I don't remember as younger it being so long, but maybe I just didn't notice. But yeah, I can't watch it November, December, January. I just really don't give a fuck. But I have been, paying attention since, about March when, we start to see who's going to be, in the top and who's going to probably be in the playoffs. But, and I kind of said this when I was talking about the WNBA, like, I don't know, the NBA, I'm not sure what it's trying to do. I just feel like it's trying to cater to too many interests all at the same time. Vegas, fans, who the hell, player complain. I don't even know really what it all is they're trying to do, but like, you're throwing guys out of games in the playoffs for stupid shit. And that's never happened. I mean, look, it's not going to go back to the old NBA days we had that I prefer when it was like straight up boxing on the court. But like it used to be that's what had to get you put out. Boxing on the court. Some of these flagrant fouls they're calling, they're going back to see if they're going to throw a player out. Like it's ruining the game. It's ruining the experience. And I think it's stupid. Okay? These guys are athletes. These guys are grown men. It's going to get rough on the court. People, watching on TV at home, like they shouldn't have they're going to watch the game regardless. They shouldn't have so much input into the game. I don't care if George from accounting is upset or appalled because, somebody got elbowed in the nose. Like, George, you're not on the court. Shut the fuck up. All right? Nobody gives a fuck. Let the refs deal with it. Let the players deal with it. Let the league deal with it. I just feel like it's just they doing too much now. They throwing people out of games for like just common contact. Like sometimes you get hit in the nuts. Like it happens. Like he trying to push. He's trying to throw his arm out there. And he just happened to hit you in your waist. Like come on, man. Like we throwing people out of games for this. It's just I feel it's ridiculous. Even the one with old boy that's a bum talking shit to LeBron James, but like even that play, it looked to me like he just got crossed up nasty. LeBron just crossed him up and he just got so turned around that his arm flung out and he tried to reach and grab himself back and hit him in his groin. And listen, no offense, we know LeBron is a flopper. Like I'm not saying he didn't get hit in the nuts, I don't know, but we know LeBron is a flopper, so it could have hit him in the thigh. Who knows where it actually hit him at? If it did actually hit him in the nuts, I don't know. I don't know how these situations be under the shorts with the jock straps and all that. But I'm just saying. I thought that was a bit much. I know y'all hate Draymond. I thought the Draymond thing, but I mean, I kind of understood that. I guess that was a culmination of things that nigga, you keep doing the most. But I didn't think that stomp was that bad. I mean, he did stomp on him, but it was in trying to turn around. He had his leg wrapped up. I mean, he had to put his leg down, and it just so happened he put it on his chest. I didn't think that was that. I just thought that was a tussle. Like, okay, if I don't put my leg down, then I might fall and break my motherfucking knee or ankle. I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to turn around and sorry. You know what I mean? But I guess, I mean, honestly, I just think Draymond, I'm not caping for Draymond, but I just feel like everybody made way too big of a deal of him punching him. Y'all act like he was out on a high school camp or something and punched a kid or something like that. That was a grown ass man. And look, we all, like I said, they all professional athletes. Look, if you got knocked the fuck out, I don't tell you should shut the fuck up. Whatever you said to the man, like, but y'all acting like he bullying him. Like, come on, dog. Like, we all grown here. We all in great shape. And if you ain't think that man was going to punch you in your eye, oh well, it was at practice. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, and I just thought a whole lot was made of it, and I think that from that, they just been waiting to get something on Draymond, and so they threw him out the game. But whatever, that one was not as egregious, because I get it. All right, he had, all right, nigga, you calm the fuck down. You've been doing a whole lot, calm down. I get it. But I don't know, I think it's ruining the game. I think it's ruining the product, and I find it very annoying. I also find it annoying how late these fucking games is on. Like, I'm sorry, I got a job. I'm not going to be up at 1 in the morning watching West Coast teams I really don't give a damn about anyway. I really only like Golden State. And you think people going to be up till 1, 2 in the morning? I don't know where they do that at, but we don't do that here in Philly. Yeah. So, that's that. Also want to comment on Riri's little cute-ass baby Fenty. We don't know his name. But he just been out in his little Gucci boots and his little Fenty outfits. And he's just so cute. They got him dressed up in his, in his little baby designer. He's always smiling because I feel like he knows what the Lord has done for him. He seems like he's just really cute, little happy little baby, and I just love seeing his little outfits. That's exactly what I would do if I had a little boy. So I was like, no offense to little girls, I was like, if I had a child, which I wouldn't, I would want little, because I would do just what Riri doing. I have him dressed up in all the little outfits, putting on all the little Jordans and everything. And I know we make fun of parents to do that, but I mean, if you rich and you Rihanna, and it's no big deal, and people giving you shit free anyway, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure when he's at home, she puts him in regular clothes. But I just love it. I think it's so funny. And he seems like such a cute, happy baby. Maybe one day we'll know his name. Although she says she ain't gonna tell us. But I guess at some point, like, when he gets older, it'll come out because they have to enroll in school or something. I don't know. I have a feel. I kind of suspect that he might be named for his father. I don't know. I can't remember what Rocky's real name is, like it's some weird name. I don't know. I don't know why I feel that. I just have a feeling it might be some version of his dad's name, but maybe not. I don't know. And finally, the other little small thing that I wanted to mention real quick is, so Leon, and this is what I call Elon Musk on Twitter because he searches his name, and people have been, if you say anything about this nigga, your account could get blocked. So I call him Leon. We all on Twitter know this whole rigmarole that's been going on with the blue checks. It's so dumb because in the early days of Twitter, nobody had, and there were no blue checks. I can't recall if there was a way to initially tell if there was if an account was legit. I don't think there was, because I think when Twitter first started, it was so few people on there. Before it got all crazy, like, so Diddy would just be Diddy. Like, there was no 20 other accounts trying to impersonate it. It wasn't like that yet. So I think when it first started, but then they got sued because something happened. Somebody impersonated somebody and they got sued. But anyway, and so that's when they started saying, okay, we have to take some affirmative action to try and at least, on our part, make it more obvious who the legitimate account is. So, you can't blame us, basically. So that's what the whole blue check, and I mean, I don't even think it started a blue check, or we call it a blue check because it's the legitimate account has a blue check next to it, but I believe when it first started, I think when it first started, it wasn't a blue check. I think they went late, start doing that later. But basically, it's verification. The whole purpose of the blue check was to identify the official account. If you were a celebrity, if you're a magazine, if you're a company, because anybody could create a Twitter account. They can spell your name a little different. They had all these different parody accounts of people. And so you just wanted to know if this is Rihanna's account, the one that she has. This Beyonce's account, the one that she has, and that's what it was for, a verification. And that helps, that makes the app manageable, because otherwise you just in a random ass chat room where anybody can claim anything, right? So that's what it was. And over time, as more and more people came to Twitter and more nerds, and I want to say when Tumblr got shut down and all the fucking nerds and geeks that was over there came to Twitter, then all of a sudden it just started turning to this clout thing, and people thinking because they got to check their opinion is more valuable than somebody else's opinion, and these motherfuckers think they celebrities and they just thinking they the shit. like they run the Twitter, and it's like nobody gives a fuck about y'all accounts. Y'all are on here just like everybody else. Y'all are not funny. Y'all are wild corny. Like, okay, Miss Ma'am, you got your PhD or you on MSNBC. I don't really give a fuck. That ain't got nothing to do with me and my Twitter experience. You and my mentions arguing with something I say. I don't like. What are you gonna do? You gonna beat me up? So it turned into an issue, and it really was starting to kind of get on my nerves. So, and a lot of people's nerves, because we was like, yo, you know, it just, and they were the ones that were like retweet, like private. They the ones that ended up letting woke get out. The term woke, which has been a fucking concept in the African American community since forever, and we know what it means. It's AAV. It don't mean what the fuck y'all done turned it into. And it was a strictly African American concept and term for so long, until all of a sudden we get these fucking wannabes trying to get TV jobs and trying to get writing jobs on Twitter. The Therese and the I can't even think of the other name, but y'all know the kinds I'm talking about. The black friends on Twitter, constantly retweeting and constantly telling their white friends and constantly showing and just starving for the white attention, tweeting our shit out. And now woke done turned into the goddamn January 6th motto and the dances, and we can't have a fucking thing because of these lame ass. So that's where the blue check had gotten to. So I'm not gonna lie, when Leon came through and was like snatching everybody checks, I was like, good. Because these motherfuckers have taken that shit and ran and turned it into something it is not, and they on everybody's nerves, and we don't need them in our business like that. They letting people in the black business because these are the people that the white people who want to know what the blacks are doing. Oh, we'll follow this guy because he'll tell us everything and we'll get it all the fuck wrong and take it on TV. And next thing we know, people talking about woke and banning books. All woke is actually a joke. It was a slur for, you know, back in the hood when you had, you know, the super black power, the super everything's a conspiracy dude. It's actually funny. The people who use woke as a slur are actually the kind of wokes we talk. The people that's like everything conspiracy. You know, they putting the steroids in the apple juice, man. You know, the white man want us to be huge, so we that's what we call woke. Like people who are extra, like just everything is a conspiracy, extra black. You know, don't eat no pork. They put, you know, that's what woke was. And actually, it's not even that. Like, where it would come from is because back in the day, like back in the 60s and 70s, like, you know, the Black Panthers and the Nation and like the black power groups would say stuff like, hey, don't sleep. Like they'll tell you something, hey man, you know, they drafting you, they're trying to get us to go over there and fight their war, don't fall for that, don't sleep. Which basically means just be vigilant, pay attention, don't be no dummy, you know, don't let them lead you by the nose. And as a joke from that, people start saying, oh, I'm woke. Because, you know, if I'm not asleep, I'm woke. So that's where it's a joke. It's not, it's like, and it's old as fuck. Like I said, it goes back to the 70s. And we kept it in our community all that time until y'all motherfuckers. So, you know, so now, Leon is just, he's just, like, I knew Twitter is if you're not on Twitter, it's hard to explain because it is a social media app, but it is not like Facebook, and it is not like, so every social media app has like its own culture and its own personality, and Twitter is hard for people who are not on Twitter. It is hard for them to understand, hard for them to pin down, because the thing is on Twitter, excuse me, what you have on Twitter is you have everybody. Presidents on there, celebrities on there, regular people on there, you know, comedians on there, company, just everybody's on there. And there's definitely black Twitter and white Twitter and all that. It's just, people think that's an actual place. No, it's just white people use and communicate, and the stories that they run with on Twitter are way different than black people. And sometimes they cross, and those can be some of the best days. Like, some of the, like, for perfect example, the Gwyneth Paltrow trial with the ski trial, that was white Twitter, but that crossed in the black Twitter, and it was very funny because that trial was hilarious to watch because Gwyneth Paltrow, that lawyer was up there, and that lawyer for that man thought she was going to be, they was just trying to make what's the word? They was trying to make a show not understanding that Gwyneth Paltrow is is an A-list actress, and you not finna out-act or out-dramatic her. You know what I mean? Like, she can, like, I don't know what y'all think we doing here, but I'm good. You want to act, we can act. You know what I mean? So, and then she told that man, God go with you when she. That was so. Sometimes stuff crosses, right? And those can be great days. But the thing about Twitter that guys like Elon and these like right wing morons and Candace, what's her name, Owens, and just all these fucking Trump morons and idiots, because at their foundation they're fucking a bunch of losers who want to be a part of the cool kids, who want to be popular, who want to be liked, but they're not because they're lame assholes. And they look at Twitter, they had this idea that like Twitter is like suppressing their speech or giving favor to certain accounts. Now, it probably was, but they had this notion that like I knew when Elon bought it, because he would tweet. Elon was on there. He would tweet about how it didn't make money and you know, just like, I guess all these people thought Jack had this app, and the thing about Twitter is it was always an issue because it really couldn't get it to make money. Yeah, they got to pay for ads, but like it was having a problem because they had all these right-wing bots and trolls and the shit with Trump and all of that, and companies didn't want to be associated with that. So company was like, hey, I'm not going to be on this app if you're going to have people on here calling people niggers and putting child porn and all kind of shit. So it was always a give and pull with the ads, right? But guys like Leon, you could just tell, like, they just were like, oh, if I get it, I can charge. They, like I said, they think that Twitter is something that you get on and you can spout and say whatever you want to say, and if people don't elevate you, or if people don't like your tweets, or if people don't, if the news or the media doesn't give attention to what you're saying on Twitter, then there's a bias. And it's not that. It's just that Twitter don't work like Facebook. Twitter don't work, you know, you don't have a bunch of just morons just posting shit over and over and over, and dog clit and all this dumb shit that on Facebook they just post shit over, you know, and it's not like that. Like, you post some shit and the motherfuckers don't think that shit is funny, then it's not gonna go nowhere. If you saying some stupid shit, it's not gonna go nowhere. And so he thought he could just buy this, and for some reason he's one of those people who thought the blue check like meant something, like the blue check was valuable, and he thought people were gonna play for Twitter Blue. And it's like, why? First of all, anytime you give somebody something for free and then you try to get them to pay for it if they've had it for free for so long, that's never gonna work. Like, we're not paying for this shit, right? So he just kept trying all these machinations to get people to play, wouldn't pay. Then he threatened to take the celebrity blue checks away, and the celebrity was like, I don't give a fuck, because the blue check is not valuable to us. LeBron James doesn't give a fuck if you take his blue check. He's still LeBron James. People who want to follow LeBron James are going to go through and figure out who's LeBron James, which one is his legit account, because you're going to be able to tell if you're not an idiot, and follow him because he's LeBron James. It has nothing to do with the check. The check, like I just said, benefits the app because it makes the app more legit, because otherwise we could just be in an AOL chat room with some random white dude from Kansas claiming he's LeBron James, like the days of the internet old. Like, the point of Twitter is the one draw that Twitter has is that you know that that's LeBron James. So if LeBron James tweeted, he tweeted that. And then, yeah, sometimes celebrities have people tweet for them, but you can tell when they are tweeting. There's a lot of celebrities on here that are really good at Twitter. Chrissy Teigen, which I know a lot of y'all hate, but she's one of the well-known ones. Halle Berry is really good at Twitter. Rihanna's an internet troll, period, is really good at it. I mean, those of y'all who've been on Twitter since, like, 2012, 2013, y'all know how Riri used to be on Twitter. When her and Tiana Taylor was going back that day, that was a time on Twitter. And her and Sierra, listen, if you've been on Twitter a long time, there have been grand days on here, okay, on the app. You can follow people. People have networked. I've got my job through somebody I networked with off of Twitter. A lot of people do that. You can meet real people on here. A lot of people done got married. It's a real app. There's real people behind it, and that's, to me, what is different from Facebook, because Facebook is more like a scrapbook. You got people, they putting their kids, and, you know, it's just, Twitter people are not Facebook people. Facebook is old. It's behind. We live tweet on Twitter. Everything is live. It's in real time. Facebook people get on there. They want to post their kids' pictures. They want to post the funeral programs. They want to, you can just tell when somebody not on Twitter because they come showing you, oh, look, did you see this meme? And it's some shit from like a year ago that is old as fuck that, like, so Twitter is unique in that way. And I just think that it's funny that now the latest update is that Elon is paying, or he says he's paying. He probably just gave the blue checks back because now he's he done laid all these people off Twitter and all these engineers and everything because he had the idea that, like, Jack just didn't know what he's doing. Oh, all I gotta do is come in and do all this stuff. Like, all these people, all the smart people that was running Twitter prior to him just had no idea and just couldn't think of all these things. Like, they were doing the things the way they were doing them for a fucking reason, you moron. Okay? Nobody's ever gonna play for a blue check because why would I do that? That gives me nothing. It doesn't make me famous. It doesn't make me great. If I'm not already, it doesn't, like, it doesn't get me a job. Like, nobody, like, why would I pay for that? The only person who would pay for that is the kind of fucking thirsty ass lame that nobody likes on Twitter anyway. Cause they the kind of motherfucker to try to come in your mentions like they important. Oh, I have a blue check, therefore I can agree with you. Bitch, get your fucking stupid ass out of my, I said what the fuck I said, I don't give a fuck. I don't care about this blue check and you got your PhD and your mentions and you on MSNBC. What the fuck that got to do with me, bitch? I said what the fuck I said. What you gonna do? You gonna come fight me? Get the fuck out of here. So, yeah. I just think it's funny that it seems that Elon has now come back to realize that the reason why the blue check is there in the first place, because when he took it away from all the celebrities and none of them paid for it, and actually, not only did they pay for it, they actively were like, I'm not paying for your stupid ass check. I'm the fucking... Why would LeBron James pay to be verified on your app, you fucking dummy? Your app is the one that needs to prove that, hey, this is LeBron James on our actual app. Yes, this is him. This is his account right here. Why would he pay you to do that? He don't give a fuck. He's like, it makes no sense. Why would any celebrity? So now it's battle going back and forth because Elon is putting these blue checks on these people and making it seem like they paid for it. So now all the celebrities like, I ain't paid for this bullshit. I don't know why this check is here. I ain't paid for it. I just want y'all to know he put this check here. I ain't paid for shit. Which is a whole nother funny thing. Sorry, y'all. Pollen is really bothering me. All right, so let's kind of go faster here before this takes a left turn. Okay, so this is what I really wanted to, these three things are what I really want to talk about. And I'll save Snowfall for last. Snowfall series finale, which I thought was really excellent, but I have a few things I want to say about it. So these past couple weeks, if you've been on the internet, I think we've all seen, a lot of TikTok videos come to Twitter. That's another thing that's unique about Twitter. I don't know if y'all do this on Facebook, probably do, but a lot of people post from IG, stuff that come on IG and TikTok on Twitter. And, there's a lot of bleed over. I appreciate it because I'm not on TikTok nearly as much as I am on Twitter. So when people put funny stuff on there, I appreciate it. I don't got to go on TikTok. So last week, there was a video of a teenager, and this is kind of tied. These two subjects I'm going to discuss together because they're kind of related. There was a teenager who got beat up basically by a substitute teacher. And from the video, I guess the substitute teacher who did not wear underwear, I'm going to explain that later. The teacher didn't have any underwear on. We know this because she beat up the student. And when she beat the student up, she's on the ground with the student, and you can see that she ain't had no underwear on. Whole nother topic, whole nother story. Why the lady ain't have drawers on, I don't know, but it just adds to it. Why? What I'm about to say. So, a lot of people watch that video, and usually it cuts down two ways when these type of things. When there's an issue with, like, children behaving or misbehaving, and phones in schools, teachers. There's a a break. There are people, and I don't know who raised y'all and where y'all come from, who always find a way to defend the most asinine, inappropriate, disrespectful, what the fuck are you doing ass behavior. They always find a way to defend it. And why, the teacher was wrong and all the adults were wrong and this child is right and should be accommodated and should be, put on a pedestal, and the rest of us. And when I watched that video, and I think there's a lot more of the rest of us now, because we are kind of fed up. Like, it's enough now. Like, we done seen so much foolery and carrying on, and it's really getting out of hand now. And I think a lot of people are starting to step over to our side. Like, listen, we need to change. Something is going on, because these kids are terrible. And so I saw that video, and I don't know why the substitute teacher was not wearing underwear. I have no idea. They do need to get to the bottom of that. She probably got fired for that alone, which fine. Listen, if the teacher beat the girl up, the girl was behind her desk wanting her phone. Now, all the other kids in the classroom filmed it, so clearly those kids had their phone. Now, the issue about phones being out in the class, I've discussed this before, I'm not arguing with y'all, it's unnecessary. I don't want to hear about how these kids need phones in the classroom from emergencies. That's fucking nonsense, okay? We done all went to school. A class is 45 minutes. We know how schools work. No emergency is getting you out of that school. They still have their protocol they have to go through, because they want to make sure ain't no child molester, ain't no human trafficker. It's a real emergency. You're not trying to cut school. That's really your parent. There's no school in America that's going to let a child in the classroom get a text, oh, my mama texted me, I got to go and walk out. That's not going to happen. So cut the shit. They got to call the school up. The school has a protocol. There's probably a list of people who can pick you up. Them people got to come pick you up to take you wherever, or whatever the case. Okay? Anybody's ever had an emergency in school knows this. Okay, or just even, ain't got to be emergency. If your parent want to come pick you up, there's a protocol. Ain't nothing having that phone out in class is going to get it done any faster. It's a distraction. It's rude. It's unnecessary. But all that being said, in this particular clip, the other kids had their phones out. So clearly, the lady didn't require everybody to put their phone away. So this girl must have been doing something really egregious with her phone for that teacher to have taken it and be behind the desk. Now, when the video starts, the girl is already behind the teacher's desk. That right there, listen, I'm Gen X. We were raised different. We grew up different. But one thing that we were raised. Okay, we might have been raised from a distance. We might have been raised from afar. We might have been raised from the note on the refrigerator, but we were raised, okay? And as bad as we were and as wild as we were, none of us ever was fighting no teachers, okay? And if you did, for the kids that want to fight teachers, y'all seen them on movies like Lean on Me and all that shit in the delinquent schools down to the center city, where ain't nobody give a fuck about y'all, and they just had chains on the doors and just waiting for y'all to get delinquents. Regular ass students was not fighting no teachers, would never fight a teacher. If we had a problem with teachers, we tell our parents, they come up there, and we better have been right about it. You better not have been rude or disrespectful. You better be a legitimate beef, or that's your ass. So the substitute teacher, she's behind the desk where she ain't got no place in. You already wrong. You already strong. You already wrong. You already disrespecting this lady because you're a student. Go sit your ass down. If that lady took the phone and you really got an issue with it, you go talk to the principal, whoever. That is a grown-ass woman. You're not supposed to be behind the desk, but y'all don't teach y'all kids a fucking thing. And y'all not teaching y'all kids that, look, just because you run around in this house screaming and hollering, acting all wild to me, and I'm afraid to discipline you because the psychiatrist told me if I fucking tell you no, then, it's going to crush your spirit. I don't know what the fuck y'all be doing. But people out in the street don't give a fuck about your kids like that. And there's a saying back in the day, it kind of went out of style with us, but it's coming back now. Saying back in the day, they say, I'll whip your ass if your daddy won't. What that means is, if you don't teach your children how to behave and how to conduct themselves with other people, and how to be respectful of the people, and how to stay in a child's place, and how to behave around adults. If you don't teach them, everybody out in the world don't give a fuck about your child the way you do. Okay? You let your child run your household and talk to you any kind of way and scream and holler in your face. People in the street, they ain't gonna do that. They gonna knock your kid the fuck out. And that's what you saw in this video. This lady, she kept telling the girl, go sit down. The girl just trying to book for a child, You trying to bully this grown up because clearly ain't nobody ever whooped your ass, because people that had their ass whooped at least once don't even act like that around people. Like Ava said on Abbott Elementary, the key to never having your ass whooped is to know who will whoop your ass. And that is that is a word, because that'd be what the problem with these new kids. They don't know who will whoop their ass, okay? Because they ain't never had their ass whooped. So she tussling with the lady. The substitute teacher turns around and says, she gonna raise her hand like she gonna hit the teacher. Teacher say, don't you put your hands on me. And the girl went and tried to hit her, and that teacher turned around and whooped her fucking ass. Whooped her ass, had her down on the ground. And people's like, she ain't gotta whoop the girl like that. No, maybe she don't. Maybe she don't. But I bet you that girl won't raise her hand to nobody else, because if you don't teach your children how to behave in school, or how to behave, period, if somebody else will. Okay, and that lady whooped that girl's ass, and didn't nobody do nothing about it. She on the ground getting her head bashed, talking about, you're not gonna do it. All the other students were sitting there, which told me, filming it, and then after like a little while, when they seen the teacher really gonna get off her, they was like, all right, somebody go get a teacher. But that told me that they knew that girl deserved that, because we've seen other videos where the kids be like, all right, that's enough jumping, listen. Them kids sat there for a reason, okay? And I just, look, we're tired. You motherfuckers need to start parenting your children. You're not parenting your children. You're not teaching them anything. You're not guiding them any kind of way. You're letting them do whatever the fuck you want to do, because y'all got all this therapy speaking, therapy talk, and y'all done went to all these fucking therapists to telling y'all this shit. Now y'all kids acting just like these wild-ass white children. For a reason, okay? You're trying to be your kids' friends. You're not holding them responsible. You're not teaching them anything. You're not holding them accountable. And when they get grown-ups, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a problem, because society, they got all these police and they got all these jails, and they're not going to be talking to your grown-ass child who doesn't know how to follow directions and who thinks they can buck up on anybody. They're just going to shoot them motherfuckers, or they're going to put them the fuck in jail, and they're going to have records because you didn't do your job. Y'all are failing your children. Your children should not be raising their hands to adults, period. Let alone teachers. Y'all are taking this shit too far. You can teach your children how to not be, but my father and all of us in Gen X, we know, our parents taught us, look, you don't want to get molested like Dudley on different strokes, so, you don't let nobody touch you, teaching you. You don't have to acquiesce just because somebody's an adult. If something is wrong, or they disrespecting you, they talking to you crazy, they just going over the line, then you can stand up for yourself. Yes, but that's different than what the fuck y'all are doing now, where y'all don't have no respect for adults. Y'all don't have no respect for authority. Y'all think that, you're on the same level with grown-ups. You trying to swing on adults, and then when the adult want to slap the snot out of you, then you want to act shocked. You're a little kid. I'm not a child. I'm not your mama. I'm not your auntie. Everybody's not going to be patient with you. I might assume that if you in this schoolhouse acting like this, ain't nobody never taught you nothing. So it's not going to do me no good to pick up the phone and call your mother or call your father and say, hey, they down here acting up. Because when we was in school, listen, that was what you avoided at all fucking costs, bitch. Having your parents called because you was acting, oh, no. Oh, hell no. Gen X, we was never going for that, because that meant that our independence was going to be curtailed. That meant that we was going to be on some type of punishment and not be able to do what the fuck we wanted to do with our time. And that was never going to happen, bitch. So that's why we fought after school. 3 o'clock, cross the street. No fighting on school grounds unless it was egregious. That's why. Because the last thing we wanted to do, bitch, I don't give a fuck. You could put handcuffs on me, take me down to the goddamn jail. I will spend a weekend in jail before I will have you call my father down to this school because I was talking crazy to a teacher. And there have been times, a couple times, where I did have issues with a teacher, and I would go tell my father, and it wasn't willy-nilly, because like we said, you better not be in the wrong. You better not tell your mother or your father that this teacher was doing this, and that, and you come down there and find out you ain't did your homework in 2 weeks, and you've been talking, and the lady, listen, it better have been legit. And a couple times it was legit that I told my father to come down there, and one time was in 6th grade, and after he did, I ain't had no more problems out that lady because she was bugging. But you're taking it too far. When we were children, yes, children act up. Children do these things. We understand, but we were always taught that when you're out in public and when you're around other people, you have to behave in a certain way. Y'all act like kids just don't have no responsibility, no accountability. They can't be made to contain themselves. And that's bullshit. People all over the country raise their children. Hey, when we're in the airport, we're in the restaurant, you sit down here. You don't yell. You're not running around. We're not in the living room. We're out. Everybody else here is out trying to have a nice meal, have a good time. We have come here to eat. You sit here, you color on your little menu, you eat your food, you're not running around, you're not going to different people's table like this is not home. You're in school. You sit there during that 45 minutes, you listen and you don't talk till the bell ring. When y'all go to recess, when y'all go to lunch, that's when y'all can let loose. In the classroom, it's not the time. That's not the time to be sitting there. I used to get in trouble for talking all the time because I used to do my work and I never thought it was that hard. And once I was done, and I wasn't the only one, we get to, talking sometime. Or I just would listen, look, you, this is the kid that always got the A's, but got the remarks that I talk too much in class. That was me. So I understand, but still, I knew that I was in class, and so did the rest of us. And we were raised to, when we are out in public and in certain environments, that you don't behave the way you want to behave. You in church, you sit here and you be quiet. Yes, we know you tired, you bored. Here go a piece of candy. Here go your little coloring book. You bring, here. That's not being taught anymore. These children are just running wild. They're reckless. They have no respect for anybody. They think everybody is their peer. They don't think that they have to respect any, and it's leading to a bad end, and it's going to get worse. These teachers, all the ones that have any sense, already retiring and quitting anyway because they tired of dealing with your badass kids because they can't do anything to them because you're going to be up in the school arguing that somebody trying to discipline your kids. So what y'all gonna be stuck with was a bunch of these teachers that show up to school with no drawers. I don't know what goes on in the mind of a bitch that shows up to a school with no underwear on, but I know it ain't the one I want to throw a punch at. She don't give a fuck, clearly. And that's gonna be who in there with y'all fucking badass kids. And we gonna listen, we gonna see. The next school shooting might be from a teacher, bitch. I'm saying, I know that's I don't mean no harm, but like, hey, it might be. Because they want to arm the teachers now, which is a terrible idea. Because, teachers ain't, these new teachers might not, they not like Miss Willis and Miss James and Mr. Morgan and them. They don't have the patience. They don't have the skill set. They don't have the, all the training that the old teachers used to get. These motherfuckers now is off the street, and you might get, your little badass son might get shot. I don't know. So that leads me into my next discussion, and I really, 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 really have been wanting to talk about this. It's actually been burning me because I've been tired of y'all dragging my man all week. And I am going to step up defense counsel for Buddy that was yelling for the baby to be quiet on the plane. Listen, first of all, that TikTok was fucking hilarious. I watched that thing so many times and laughed. So it was so many different things. He went in. And the reason why it was so funny, and I know, listen, if you are a person and want to call him a man baby, and look, that we're not on the same side. And I'm going to tell you why. And it ties into what I just said prior about people are not parenting their children and they're not showing their children, teaching their children that you are in a public place. There are other people here who are here to have fun and for their comfort or to get to where they're going to. And we all have to cooperate to make this a decent experience as much as possible. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a clip from Southwest Airlines that was on TikTok. And I just want to say, the guy filming the thing, that was totally me. Had that incident happened, yeah, he was listen, I would do the same thing. Like, yo, I know he was like, this shit is hilarious. I have got to document it. That would have been me. There's a plane that is flying into, I think they said Fort Lauderdale, but it was in a holding pattern because they couldn't land. I think they said weather. They said why, but it had been circling the airport. And if you've ever been on a plane I've been on a plane a couple times where either because of air traffic control or something like that, we couldn't land, and so we just circling, and that shit. That, and also if you ever been in a plane and you taxiing because it's backed up and you just taxiing in circles trying to, oh boy, that's very, very frustrating, especially after a long flight. If you done sat in a long fucking 3, 4, 5 hour flight and you just want to land and you can't, very frustrating. Okay, so that's the context. They were trying to fly in and they had been circling the airport because they couldn't land. So the man is yelling. Well, I'm not going to say he's yelling. He was speaking loudly. What happened was he was complaining because there was a child. And y'all keep saying baby. That was not baby crying. People are like, well, baby's crying. They get the ear pressure in the ear. That was not infant crying. We all know what babies cry sound like. That was a toddler cry. That was a 2, 3, 4-year-old cry. Didn't sound 5 because 5-year-olds, they talk more. This was a 2, 3, maybe 4 cry, a toddler cry. That was not a baby. He was calling it a baby, but it wasn't a baby. An infant anyway. That was not because the babies cry. They got the that high pitched, and it's a wail type. This was just it was stopping. It was crying. It was screaming. It was a toddler, and he was asking this is the part of the video that the people who want to call him an asshole and all this shit miss. He was yelling about the baby, but he was not yelling. He said the baby was crying for 40 minutes, but what his complaint was that the baby was crying for 40 minutes. So he had on his headphones and he said he was asleep. The baby was crying nonstop for 40 minutes while they're circling this airport, and nobody was trying to hush the child or settle the child down. That's what he was complaining about. People want to talk about it's an infant and baby cry. Yes, I was on the flight. Oh my God. I was on the flight from New York to LA. There was a newborn. I don't know if he's a newborn. It's a baby on the plane. The baby cried. Nobody complained. I mean, yes, was it annoying? But I put my headphones on. But we understand, infant, it's the pressure. We get it. You can't. I mean, but the mom, was trying. She was trying to tend to the baby. She put the plug in, but I mean, he just was crying off and on, not nonstop, but enough in this flight. But we understood it's the infant. I guess she had to fly the baby. We got it. Nobody, was huffing. Everybody had their headphones. Like, okay, fine. But again, the baby wasn't crying nonstop. Like, he would cry. Then she would put him to sleep. And then he'd wake, I guess the pressure or something was waking him up, and he would, do the little cry, but he was crying for a good portion of the flight. But not for like 45 minutes straight. The man wanted them to try to settle the baby. And the reason I know that's what he was complaining. Listen, when he said, or did that baby get paid extra to yell? Boy, I about fell the fuck out. But then, the thing that really made me laugh, though, is when they're trying to get him to quiet. They're trying to tell him to be quiet. And then I think it was the guy who might have been his baby. I don't know who it was, but it was somebody ahead of him that turns around and says, oh, well, now trying to be tough now because, everybody, just leave it. The flight attendants and everybody is around the guy, so now he's gonna get bold, and he's like, oh, well, now you're bothering me now. He was like, I don't give a fuck you ain't say a fucking thing when that baby was crying for 40 fucking minutes. Just leave it, thank you. Was crying for 40 fucking minutes, right? So that shit was funny to me. So sorry about yelling at you. Every time I get on here, somebody come to the fucking door and they can't just leave the fucking package. I gotta ask them. What was I saying? This nigga done threw me the fuck off. So he wants them to ask the people to quiet the child. That's what he was gonna play, and I know that because the black lady flight attendant rushed over. She was like, "Sir, we can't help it. That's not our baby. We can't do anything." It's like, that's not true. Yes, you can. You can go there and you can say, "Ma'am, here's some peanuts. Here's a soda. Is there anything? Why are you on a plane with a baby?" With a child, and I see this all the time. They don't bring anything to entertain them. They don't have the iPad. They don't have toys. They don't have nothing. It's a child. They're going to start crying. I've been on the plane with a child running up and down the aisle and just hollering and screaming, and the parents do absolutely nothing. Fortunately for me, though, I've been on the flights where the flight attendants will come and be like, "Ma'am, do you want a soda? Because there's something we can do. Can you quiet the baby down? Does he need to walk?" It's a plane full of people. Everybody on this plane is trying to be comfortable. And we cannot, with you just want to sit there and let your child holler. 45 minutes is a long fucking time. And y'all trying to make this, he was frustrated. And should he have been yelling at? No. But this is what we need y'all to understand. And I keep people saying people with no kids. It ain't just people with no kids, because it's people with kids too. Like I said, you need to teach your children how to behave. Okay? And if they're of an age where that there's gonna be an issue, bring something. What, this child is just crying for 45 minutes and you're not doing anything, and everybody else on the plane is supposed to be cool? No. And I see that shit all the time. And that's why he said that the baby paid to yell, because, ma'am, I paid for the seat. Airplane tickets are astronomical. And I paid for my Delta Plus economy. I paid $800, $700, how much dollars for this ticket so I could be comfortable and everything. And you think I'm going to sit here and listen to this child just holler for 45 minutes and his parents are sitting there doing fucking nothing and I'm just supposed to be okay with it? And when I have a problem, you going to come sit in me like I'm having the problem with your yelling. So is the baby. And you couldn't argue with him, because his point was, okay, you acting like I'm bothering the plane because I'm yelling, but this baby been yelling for 45 minutes and ain't nobody said a fucking thing. He bothering the plane too. But I'm yelling, I'm the issue. Listen, I'm his defense attorney. Look, we are tired of your fucking children. Teach your kids how to behave. They running through the airport. They running through the restaurant. They knocking people's table over. They hollering. They yelling. You're not teaching them anything. It's not about the child. Yeah, yes, we know a child's going to cry, but I don't think it's reasonable to expect people, like he said, he was like, "No, you want to use logic? Let's use logic." We in a 10 fucking can, all of us trapped here, uncomfortable as that is, but trying to have some smooth ride, and this kid is just yelling for 45 fucking minutes and nobody's going to do anything? And the reason I know that's why, because soon as they went down there, that if you watch the whole TikTok, soon as he went down there, the baby quieted down. So what that told me is they never said nothing, and that's what he was complaining about. He was complaining about go down there and ask them to quiet the baby, because he kept saying, "Please quiet the baby. Please quiet the baby." So nobody was going to say anything. And just because y'all motherfuckers want to sit around and grit your teeth for 45 minutes, I was asleep. I had my fucking headphones on. Who knows? That could have been the last leg of it. He could have been around. All I know is we are tired of everything got to revolve around your badass kids. Because this is a child, I'm just supposed to sit here and just be stressed the fuck out because he's fucking hollering, and God forbid I say, because he was like, "Oh, but you a man." Okay, that's a fucking child. Tell him to be quiet. If he stopped yelling, I stop yelling. Listen, I understood everything he was saying. Maybe he didn't have to yell. People said he cussed the baby out. He didn't really cuss the baby out. He just was saying he kept saying the fucking baby. Yo, that shit was funny to me. I thought it was funny, and I think that there's a lot more people, maybe we ain't gonna yell like that, but I feel like there's a lot more people that felt exactly what he was saying. We are tired of y'all not teaching y'all kids. How many times have you been in the airport, on the plane, these motherfuckers is ripping and running and not sitting down like, dog, we on a plane. We on a plane. Sit the fuck down. What are you doing? They don't let you. They'll tell you to sit down. There's like certain times when your seatbelt, you have to stay in your seat. And if you get up, the motherfucker damn near tackle you back into your seat. You might have to pee or whatever. They don't give a damn. But the kid is just ripping and running. And God, like I said, I have always been on a flight though, with the flight attendants be like, ma'am, your son has to sit in the seat. He has to put a seatbelt on. He can't be running around. The captain will take the seat off as soon as he can, but till then, y'all got to sit the fuck down. And they'll hand them little books. Here you go. You some look, you get it together. Thank God. And so that's why I got what he was saying, because clearly they weren't. They were just going to let the baby holler with the, like, oh, well, he's a baby. Yeah, he's a baby. And kids and babies, they holler. They do kid shit. You know how you get them to not do that? You teach them, hey, we don't holler like this nonstop. What is your problem? Do you want a soda? Are you tired? I know we're all tired, babe. The plane, we can't land. We're gonna land as soon as we can. You know, can you be a big boy? Let's see how long you can not cry. Like, raise your children. That's all we trying to get y'all to do. Raise your fucking children. Parent your children. Stop just letting them do whatever. You're failing your kid. Yeah, he's gonna holler because ain't nobody telling him not to. What is the problem? Are you hurt? Do you have to go to the bathroom? Can he go to the bathroom? If he goes to the bathroom, he'll stop hollering. Like, so, counsel for the defense, I throw it to the jurors now. If y'all think it's reasonable for a child to just be allowed to holler on a plane while we circling with nobody even going to try to attempt to get him to be quiet, to where he done holler through my headphones and holler me out my sleep, y'all think that's reasonable, then, vote guilty. But if you don't, we going home. All right. And so that leads me to the last thing I want to talk about, and it's the series finale of Snowfall. I thought that series finale was so good. I thought it was so excellent. I thought it was so well done. And I say that as somebody who watched Snowfall from the beginning to the end and thought that it got a little off the rails, a whole lot off the rails. The past, I want to say 2-3 seasons. Now, some of that was because John Singleton passed away, rest in peace. And, they had to, I guess, try to carry on with what he wanted to do, but without his voice. And so, that's going to change the tone. I just feel like the first season and the second season had a different tone. They kind of turned into Power, where it was more about, the first season, Snowfall was about, if you're not familiar with the show, it comes on FX, you should watch it. Excellent show. It is loosely based on the true story of Rick Ross, the real Rick Ross, not the rapper, who in the early 80s, as investigation has shown, the CIA dropped drugs in South Central LA to pay for their war against the Contras in Central America. And Rick Ross was the main dealer who was in business with the CIA to transport these drugs. So it's just loosely based on that. And from that, the whole crack, because I'm Gen X, and I remember this, like, we lived through this, so we keep trying to tell y'all all the time, like, y'all with this cocaine and these hard drugs, like, look, we see where that's gonna lead. But crack, though, started, and I remember it started on the West Coast. Like, we had, when I was younger, like when we were little kids in the 70s, cocaine was a big deal. It was the rich drug that, nobody thought it was a dangerous drug. But rock started out west, and it's the first thing that kind of started west and came east. Most things start east and go west, but because the CIA did what they did, they purposely went to LA and dropped it. It started out there. And I remember, hearing about crack and start seeing it, and then, it just hit like a bomb. But so this is loosely based on that. And the point of it is called Snowfall, and John Singleton created it, and he created it. The point of it was to chronicle, because we keep trying to tell y'all kids, and y'all act like y'all know, y'all think we lying or we making this shit up. The crack era was terrible. It was the worst of motherfucking times. We all still got PTSD from it. I mean, I can just now talking about it, feel myself stressing up and tensing up the way I used to be when I was in, back then. I can feel myself tensing up, just You had to always be on alert, just talking about it. It was terrible. It was a terrible, terrible time. And so that was what the show was supposed to be about. It was supposed to show how devastating the crack era was, how devastating what they did to us with dropping them drugs in the inner cities, in the inner communities, how devastating it was, how many lives were destroyed, and how the neighborhoods were destroyed. And we are still feeling the ramifications of today because, let me tell you, the crack may be struck, but not in the way that we anticipated. And so John Singleton died. So the first season I thought was really good. It showed how even though we didn't have a lot of money, and maybe, but people were middle class, and well, now we look probably working class, lower middle class. We didn't know that. We know that now. But back then, whatever. People had their jobs, and they had nice homes, and the neighborhood was okay. Maybe, they had some crime, and they always had that, my dad, and this is just from the old heads telling me, they were like, in the 50s and 60s, the heroin used to be really bad. But they were like, but the one thing that I just really remember, and I've told y'all my dad's story, I'm going to tell y'all a little more today. But the one thing I really remember from, I want to say, 80... when crack really started, really taking... Because it seemed like 1 minute we heard about crack, but it wasn't that bad. And then it seemed like the next minute, it was just everywhere. And shit was just crazy everywhere. And nobody could really, what the fuck happened? And it just really was fast. And I feel like, in my memory, 83, no. 84, no. I feel like it was 85, 86, when people was like, what the fuck is going on? What is all these people on this stuff? Everybody's on this fucking drug. Motherfuckers is abandoning their kids. Everybody's stealing everything that ain't nailed down. There's crackheads everywhere. Night of the living base heads. I feel like it was 85, 86 when that started. Just the flip of a switch. And I just remember, when it did, so my father and people hit him. So my dad is a baby boomer. Well, no, is he? No, he's not. He was born in 43. So the war wasn't over yet. But people that was grown when we was in the 80s, I don't know. My dad was born in 43, grown-ass people. You know what I mean? I was 10, 11, 12, 13, the people that was grown. So they would have been around in they would have been young in the 60s and the 70s. My dad would have been 20 in 63. So them niggas, they were we seen heroin, 55, all the musicians, heroin came through. We know heroin. But they all, and my dad, I done told you, my dad was a player, a big time player. And I'm talking about all them dudes, the lottery, the number runners, the players, any kind of all of them. Plus just the regular people that was just out here was we ain't never seen no shit like this. When the heroin was out here like that, yeah, it was bad, but they was but they wasn't like this. The heroin addicts they still, the heroin addicts, from what they told us, I don't know what they told us, they were but they were still able, they still raise their children and pick their kids up, and it wasn't like this unless they got bad, the kinds that just be out in the street. But they were it was people, Billie Holiday, it was a lot of music, Ray and them, yeah, eventually got bad, but it was people would do heroin, but they wasn't like this. These motherfuckers out here, and I just always remember saying, they were we ain't never seen no shit like this. And this is coming from people that dealt cocaine, back in the 60s and 70s, dealt weed, these ain't coming from no church folks. This is coming from people that was street-ish or in the streets, we ain't never seen I don't know what, this crack is crazy. This crack is crazy. I remember that. And the reason that Snowfall was so good, because when the show started out, Franklin was in school. He was a school kid, and that's what I try to explain to people. Y'all don't understand. Now it's different. Now the criminals and the people in the street we dealing with are the ones that got broke under crack. The ones who grew up with no parents. The ones whose moms was on that stuff. The ones who, y'all the ramifications. But when we started, I tell people, I went to school, and I went to a good school. I didn't go to no Mr. Clark at school. But, and the part of Philadelphia that I'm from, if you know Philadelphia, you'll know, I'm from East Oak Lane, West Oak Lane, Mount Airy, that area of the city. Back then, back in the 70s and 80s, that was the area in the 60s and the 50s, and now still kind of, but not so much as back then. That was an area of the city where the black people who with good jobs, who made good money. It wasn't the suburbs. It was in the city, but it was kind of like, compared to some other areas of the city, you might have thought it was the suburbs. Like I said, we had a front yard, backyard, garage, grapevines, all that, but we were in the city. But that area of the city, it's the northwest area of the city, up by Cheltenham Township, like I said, Mount Airy, East Oak Lane, Chestnut Hill, that area, that's where I'm from. And that area was historically in Philadelphia, which is a black city. That's where the black people, the doctors, the lawyers, the city workers, and I'm talking about like not just random clerks. I'm talking about like you run SEPTA, which is Philly's version of MTA, or like, you work for the mayor, you the mayor, those type of people. That's the area of the city I'm from. And so when I say that it was regular middle class people, some in Philadelphia, some of the biggest kingpins and biggest drug dealers and biggest players came from where I'm from. Not from the inner city, not from North Philly, South Philly, where wasn't a lot of money down there. There's poorer areas of the city. From up where I'm from. And the reason why is we were middle class. Solid middle class. Now that I know more a little bit about money, I realize some people were not, but that we were solid middle class. I mean, you had people back then, 83, 80s making, your mom made, maybe she worked for the mayor, she might have made 75, 80 grand a year back in the 80s. And your dad, I don't know, maybe he worked for SEPTA, he made probably, like, that was a lot of money back in the 80s. So you doing well. You got nobody missing no meals, y'all got 2 cars, that's the area of the city that I came from. But the way that crack was working, you could make 75 grand in one day. And so a lot of boys that I knew, and some girls too that I knew, the kingpins, the junior black mafias, and the drug crews that we all know came from the middle class. They didn't come, that was, and I like how Snowfall showed that. Franklin was a regular dude. They had a house, Louis and them, that, Jerome had a little record store, or what, he was trying to get the record store, like that, these was regular folks. And that's how it started. And it got so bad that it ended up to, y'all see what the inner city was looking like around 91, 92, 93. That's how fast it went. And I thought the first 2 seasons, they showed Franklin's little girlfriend, how she got hooked on drugs, because that's what would happen, yo. Like, people would start smoking crack, because ain't nobody know it was going to be crack, because they had all taken on this cocaine, and cocaine was the party drug. So, but you couldn't afford it. And it was kind of like a cachet. So then when people were able to afford it, they start smoking crack. And I'm telling you, man, you people would start smoking crack in April. And you see them, and you wouldn't see them no more. Like, hey, where's Shonda? We ain't seen Shonda. Nobody seen Shonda. Come May, June, you downtown, or you just whatever, you outside somewhere, and you see some, like, what the fuck, some poor, dusty, looking bad down, skinny, dirty, look like they just walking the street, been out. Who the fuck is that? That's fucking Shonda. She been on that fucking crack since April. She ain't at home. Nobody don't know where her kids at. She done stole from her grandmama. Grandmama put out. Like, it was that bad, yo. People selling their bodies for drugs. Like, they had no money, so they fucking people for drugs. They letting drug dealers, y'all saw New Jack City, that was real. Letting drug dealers use their apartment to stash money and stash drugs just so they could get free rock. Letting them, and you know what? Let me throw my teenage daughter in too. You want to fuck her? Sure. Like, listen, these things were happening. These things were going on. It was terrible. And nobody was, I told y'all, my father's business was in West Philly. Again, if you know Philly, my dad's business was in the Cobbs Creek area. So he was on 60th, and we was on 60th Street, between Pine and Osage. Is that right? Yes. So, not quite, some people call that area Southwest, but that's not Southwest. Southwest to me is not till you cross over, what's that, 59th Street? No, it's Lansdowne. What is that over there? Washington Ave. It's not till you, to me, when I say Southwest Philadelphia, I'm talking on the other side of Washington Ave. Where my dad's store was, that's Cobbs Creek. But that was during these times, that was the heart of the crack. I mean, it was bad. It got bad. People that worked for my father was on that stuff. This one lady, I'm not sure if I told y'all this story. She got on it so bad, she turned into we call them strawberries. crack prostitutes. Basically, they fuck you for crack. Not even money. Just give me crack and I'll fuck you. She ended up getting murdered. I think I told y'all the story before. We don't know what happened. Nobody knew what happened with her. She was missing for a long, long time. Maybe not so. I can't remember. It was still over the summer. So I feel like maybe from like April, right about now, she was missing for a while. And the only reason we found her is because when it started getting hot, it was just a smell in this lot that was like down the street and around the corner. There's a smell in this lot. And people, you know, it was like, probably figured it was like a body in there, but we didn't know who. It turned out they opened the trunk of the cars in the lot and it was her. So she had been strangled, throat cut, everything. That's somebody, I knew her, and she had a kid, she had a baby. Worked for my dad. So, and there was other people, you know, my dad used to be the spot, like I think I told y'all before, because my dad used to be a player, I told y'all. And a real player, like, and I, you know, I don't, I mean, I guess I could, I mean, he's been, I guess I could say now, but, I mean, I know, my father, I know now, like, things that I didn't know, but that I suspected, or that I knew it was more to the story that I know for sure now, and because people have told me, and just, like, I know more now, so I understand, and then matching it up to little stories that he told me, like my dad, when I was younger, I told y'all, my dad used to be gone sometimes. It seemed like really long to me, because I was young, but I'm thinking now, maybe he would be gone for, like, a week or two, a month at the time, but he would be gone sometimes, and I never knew where he was. They would say, you know, they would tell me whatever. I never knew where he was, but I do remember, and this is related to Snowfall, because this one conversation we had one time, and I always remember this conversation because, you know, and my dad would tell me a lot of stories. Some of them I ain't really believe, because I was like, yo, you putting a lot on that nigga. But some stories he told me, I believed, and not only do I believe, later I would, through other information or through something else, confirm. But this one day, so my dad took me to school every day, you know, we would drive from where I went to school in Westfield. I went to school in Overbrook Park, which is over by right on City Line Avenue, over by Lower Man. Like, if you know where Friend Central is, if you keep going down City Line Avenue towards west on City Line Avenue, past Friend Central, out, if you keep going straight, you'll go out to, like, Lower Marinette area. That's where I went to school at. I went to school in Overbrook Park. So where we lived at in the city, we would get on the boulevard and get off at City Line, and it's a straight shot down City Line to where I went to school. So that was our drive every day. And this was like, whenever George Bush Sr. was president, was that 88? I think. Yeah, he's a one-term president. When Bill Clinton, yeah, it would have had 88, because Bill Clinton got elected in what, 91, 92? 88, 91, yeah, 88. And I remember when George Bush got elected, my father said he was, and this is in the height of the 88, was, if you my age, y'all know, 88 was one of them years. It was like the height of I mean, Nas got a whole album just about 88, right? Like 80, I'm gonna tell y'all the key crack years. 85, 88, 90, 91. Those were the hot years. 88 for sure. And he told me, we were driving along, I don't recall what was on the radio, but it was something on the radio, something had happened. Oh, you know what it was? I do remember. It was the Iran-Contra hearings, when that Oliver North stuff went down, whatever year that was. And that was on the TV every day. My dad watched that intently. And I was like, I mean, you know, my dad would watch stuff, but, like, he watched that shit like my nana and them was watching Young and the Restless. And I just was like, I mean, I know it was on the news, but I was like, why you watch? Like, all day he was watching. I'm like, he didn't really watch stuff like that. Like, he watched news, but not like that. Like, he watched it like we watched the OJ trial. And I never understood it. And then, like, one day we were riding, and he was like, yo, I can't remember what came up, but it had something to do with that and George Bush. And he was like, George Bush is the biggest drug dealer. That motherfucker we used to fly drugs, because he used to head the CIA. And my dad, and this is before all the shit that we know now about what the CIA did in the hood and the stuff that Maxine Waters found out. This is before we knew that. This is when it was just like a rumor. Well, you know how black people, who you think bring these drugs in, you know, but it was like, but my dad was saying, he was like, see, George Bush ran the CIA, he bought all them drugs in. They bought all them drugs in. They know where the fuck this drugs is coming from. They the ones bringing them in. And I was just like, okay, but I never dismissed that story because I did know my dad. I didn't meet all my dads. I knew all my dad's like around and way friends, but it was only he had certain other friends that he would introduce me to, but only a few. And so I knew if he introduced me to them, they were important. And so he had a guy, this white guy, a lawyer. He called him Scotty. And my dad had a bunch of friends in Miami. His friend named Abdul, who when we go to Miami, we stay at Abdul's house. I didn't at the time know why we was going to Miami. Now I know now, but we used to go to Miami. Abdul and this dude Scotty, and Scotty was a lawyer in Miami. And I mean, he was a lawyer. He was. I know now he used to rep all the drug dealers, but he was a lawyer in Miami. White dude, Scotty, real cool though, real nice. Like again, he didn't introduce me to just anybody, so I knew if he introduced me, this dude was cool. And Scotty was cool. He was nice. He was a funny guy. He had, he would wear, it was Miami, so I would notice this, but he would wear these, crocodile cowboy boots, like Crocs, like them joints that cost like $7,000-$8,000 back in like the 80s. So, and he was a lawyer. He was a straight up lawyer. But he ended up dying in a plane crash. And I remember when he did, my dad was like upset about it. He had to go. He went to Florida. He was like, oh man, Scotty passed. And I don't know how long he knew Scotty or how, but I just knew that he was a good friend of his. Because if he introduced him to me, and he introduced him to me and my stepmom, who's my dad's wife, like he, like I knew this was an important person because he don't just introduce anybody to us. So he had to go down for the funeral and everything. And he just told me he died in a plane crash. So later, as I'm older now, and I've heard different stories, I put things together, I realized Scotty was an attorney. He was an attorney for every, like, I'm talking about the Griselda Blanco, the big time Pablo Escobar. He was that attorney for those guys. And that's how my dad knew him. And that's what they were doing. I realize that now because people had come up to me at different times, and now that I'm older and my dad has passed away, and they'd be like, yeah, we used to buy bricks from your father. We used to buy, and I was like, huh? Yeah, back in the 78, he was like one of the only dudes, because back then, you had to have like I said, cocaine was you had to have a connect, and not just anybody had it back then. That's how crack changed things. Crack, all you had to do was get a little bit of cocaine, boil it up, cook it, make some rock, keep doing that. Within a month or two, you was making like millions of dollars. Like that's how crack changed the game. But people would tell me like, yeah, your dad, like he was a connect. Like he was one of the few dudes that if you needed 5 or 10 keys, he could get it for you. Now I realize I'm putting the pieces together. That's how he knew Scotty, because they were working with Pablo and them down in Colombia at the time and bringing that shit through. And that's what he would, when he would disappear sometimes, I realize now, because that's what they were doing. And that's what Scotty died in a plane crash. That's what it wasn't a Delta plane that crashed. It was a transport plane that crashed. And I know that because I saw the story on the news. I just didn't know at the time that that's what I was seeing. But it was some random report of some plane that had crashed, and they found whatever they found. I can't remember, but I remember seeing that story in the news. And so, the last time I remember is when he was in the hospital. And I guess he knew he wasn't coming out, and he was telling me, he was just talking to me and telling me random stuff. But he said, I can't remember how it came up this time, but he started talking about Miami when he used to be in Miami, and I knew that he used to be in Miami. He was telling me, he was like, man, we didn't know. He was like, I wish we would have bought some property down there. He was like, but we was down there, man, it was, because Miami is basically built by the drug traffickers, but in the 70s and 80s, it was like a vacation, red state, country ass spot, nothing but swamp. And that's what he was saying. He was like, man, they used to have real estate down there for so cheap. He was like, man, we could have bought all of Miami Beach. He said, man, stuff down there was so, but we just ain't know. We ain't know this was going to be. He was like, it was a swamp. It was just where he ain't say what he was, but I knew what he was saying. He was like, we was just down there to do, and we would just fly back, And he said that to me in the hospital. So that's no. I was like, oh, he was like, man, if we would have bought that stuff, man, I would have been really leaving you some shit like that. He did say that. So, I said all that to say that the early drug game, that's what it was. And then crack came, and just like they showed in Snowfall, I mean, people got ruthless, because now you don't have to be a hookup. You don't have to know a high priced lawyer. You don't have to be hooked directly into Pablo. Like, again, you could buy coke from, a little eighth of coke. I don't even know how much that cost, but whatever. It was 15, 14, 13 kids like Franklin, guys like Franklin, teenage kids. No kind of indoctrination to the game, no kind of rules, they don't give a fuck. They rock it up, they making money. These motherfuckers is making money hand over fist, and now they got all these guns and all these weapons, and they fighting for their corners, and everybody and that's how the shit got crazy, because any and everybody could be a dope boy, and as it went along, it got like, in Franklin, the reason I like it is because they showed how there's a reason we tell y'all that this dope game only ends in jail, death, or these motherfuckers be strung out, and that's how it is. And a lot of y'all was complaining that the ending is not realistic. It absolutely is. There are if I go home to Philly right now, and even when I was younger, there used to be, if you any black neighborhood you go to, you'll go in a neighborhood and it'll be certain random, like random dude on the corner, or maybe he's just, random old dude or drunk or crackhead, whatever, somebody that you normally wouldn't even pay attention to, but you'll notice people like, hey Gerald, hey Rod, hey, whatever, they'll speak to them, and you'll be like, we're just fucking speaking, why are you speaking to him, and they'd be like, that's Pete used to run this whole neighborhood. You'll find out that he used to be the man, he used to be the Franklin Saint. Not all of them get out, some of them do, some of them, they sit like Leon, they see it, like, look, this shit is, they about to come down with these laws, putting us to jail forever. I'm getting the fuck out of there. I'm taking my little money. I'm going to Ghana, or I'm going to invest in these, whatever, like my daddy did. And they do get out. There's some of them, they go into the music industry. We know those stories, although most of them end up still in jail because they can't leave that street shit behind. But some of them get out, but a lot of them do not. I told you my boy Sean, he been in jail since he was 18. For murder. He gonna be there for the rest of his life, because Pennsylvania, that's what they do. But and the dude he killed, that he's in there murder for, I knew him too. Dude named Brett, knew him too. I was at work the day he got killed. I didn't know he was gonna be killed that day, but I knew he was gonna be killed because he kept asking. He kept he worked for my father, but me and him was real cool because we kind of grew up together, because when I lived with my mom, one of the ladies that used to babysit me, my mom's went to college with this, her friend, one of her best friends she went to college with, and her mom would babysit me. So, and Sean lived on the block. So, and my grandmother also lived right around the corner from the lady that would babysit me. So I didn't grow up in that area, but I came up with Sean. Sean lived on the block, so I came up with Sean. So Sean was a friend of mine. But he ended up running a drug crew, and he would come by the store all the time. My dad knew him, so he didn't, and he told me, and I told him, he told me his stupid plan of what he was going to do, and I was like, Sean, that's not going to work. They still going to put you in jail. It don't work like that. He thought that his plan was he was going to send his little boys, the dude Brett, they was fighting over this corner, two blocks up for this corner on Larchwood. They was all summer, they was battling, they was shootouts all summer. That summer we had to keep on ducking, and for this corner. And Sean, I told you, my dad used to, one things that my dad used to do is like when dudes come home from jail, or when they get paroled, or if they get probation, whatever, because they first offense, and the court says they have to have a job, my dad will come let them work for us. So we had like a lot of dope boys, a lot of drug kingpins who was working for this. Ours was their cover job. I told y'all that, right? My boy Stacy, it was a lot of them in there. That's what my father would do, allow them to work there. He didn't even have to pay some of them because they weren't getting, they had dope money. He just, hey, I need to say I have a job. So, and this was like in the early 80s. So, Sean just he told me what he was going to do. And I was like, Sean, that's not going to work. Because he was like, I'm going to get everybody else to shoot him. I'm not going to actually shoot him. So when they do they can't say I shot him. I'm like, Sean, it don't work like that. You can't, it's called felony, whatever. I told him it wasn't going to work. Nigga did anyway. And so he's been in jail since 18 because all the boys told on him. And he tried to say, but it wasn't my gun. They was like, but you're the one that ordered the hit. Like I said. So he's been in jail since 18 over that. And I know another guy that's also, he didn't get life though. He got, he's probably out now. He got like 20 years. Yeah, he's probably been out. Because when we were like, yeah, he would have been out. I was like 15, 16, 20 years. I mean, maybe he's back in, but he got 20 years. And the thing about Pennsylvania is they don't do like parole and all that shit. So if they give you 20 years in Pennsylvania, it's 20 years minimum. You're going to be in there 20 years and then they'll let you out. If they give you life, you in there for life. They give you double life, forget it. So I know a lot of guys that are in jail. They still in jail. Some of them got out. I went to school. I tell y'all, we went to school with kingpins because back then it's not like now. Now these motherfuckers don't even bother to go to school. But back then, if you was smart, you at least go to class sometime. Maybe you wasn't in there all the time, but you was in there enough to take the tests and get your grades and take the the quarterly standardized test. You were there enough to where you could maintain an A or a B, so that if the cops came and tried to claim that you'd be like, what you talking? I go to school. I look, here go my report card. Like, that's what they used to do when we was in school. I don't know what they do now, but back then, the smart ones, that's what you would do. You would have some presence at school because that's part of you laying low. You didn't drive the big fancy Mercedes. You drove a little, we call them buckets. Drove a little bucket. You kept it low. Yeah, you had your gold and jewelry on, but like not flashy. You didn't draw attention to yourself. It's different now. Motherfuckers got whole ass rap crews making legitimate money, still doing. I don't understand it. But anyway, the ending of Snowfall was great because it showed how that shit don't be worth it. Louis on the run. And you know what? Let me be defense attorney for Louis too. Because y'all was making Louis the bad guy. And I just want to say, I don't know if we was watching the same show because Louis is the one who, when Franklin didn't know what to do with that dope and Teddy was about to find somebody else, he went to Louis because Louis was already in the game with Sylvia at the bar and knew the hustlers and knew how to do that shit and told Franklin what to do, and you need a place to launder your money through. So they finagled Sylvia out of the bar. Y'all don't remember that. And then the whole beef between her and Franklin started because once Louis figured out where, because remember Franklin wasn't telling them where the drugs was coming from at first. And then when Louis found out that he was fucking around with the government and who Teddy was, she was like, Franklin, you got this ain't it. This not you. They fucking with you. That's not your money. They using you. They gonna throw you to the wolves. Remember? That's what started the beef. And then Franklin didn't want to do it. Franklin was like, look, man, I just need to do this. We're gonna get this money, gonna be out. Y'all gonna help me. And then Louis was like, cool. Louis and Jerome was like, all right, fine. We gonna be a crew. Sissy, all of them. We gonna be a crew. It's only when Franklin went back and was still trying to fuck with Teddy, and Louis was like, look, Louis and Jerome was like, bruh, look, we gonna do our own thing. We know how to do this. We got the shit set up in Arkansas. We can do this. We got our own shit now. We don't need that motherfuckers though. We got these kids and let me go on my own because I'm fucking grown and I know what I'm doing and you don't. And that's when the beef started. And y'all wanted to make Louis like she was the bad guy. Louis told him all along that this is going to happen. That's not your money, Franklin. You fucking around with the government, Franklin. These motherfuckers, you in over your head, Franklin. We don't need this shit, Franklin. I'm about to go take my shit. And I got, and she told him about Pony Boy. Look, you need to go with, I know he crazy, but he's loyal, and we know he's kind of crazy, and we ain't got to worry about him trying to stab us in the back. If he say he on our side, he on our side. But no, he wanted to go with the young boy, and what happened? Okay, and that's what started the war. So, defense attorney for Louis, because y'all tried to make Louis the bad guy. Louis was the one who set all that shit up and told Franklin how to do it and told Franklin he needed to get out. And this motherfucker thought he could just go quit on Teddy. Like, nigga, Teddy is the CIA. What do you mean give you? That's not your money. That's all government money. He's setting your accounts and shit up because he wants to fund his little fucking war. He's got the account numbers for all that shit. And all y'all talking about Sissy fucked it up. Sissy knew that he wasn't calling in no bank transfer. He was probably going to call a code to let them know, take all that shit out or move all that shit or whatever he was going to do. Teddy was not calling the bank transfer, and she knew that because she knew that Teddy killed her husband and how easy he would lie. And why would he do that? If he was going to transfer the money, he would have just did it. So, it was a good show. If y'all were disappointed. Y'all said it was realistic. It was the best. I'm so glad that they brought it back around because the show had turned into Power for a little bit, and everybody talked about Franklin Saint, and that was not the point of it. The point was not Franklin Saint. The point was to show, look how savage this shit. Look how they got family members trying to shoot at family. I got a son and a mother. A son threatening his mother and not wanting to see his mother anymore by some money and choking his baby mom. Like, killed this man's father. Like, that's how savage it got. You had motherfucking grandmothers that had to put bars on their house because their grandchild was coming in and stealing their shit. Okay, I told y'all, crackhead stole my grandmama's address. Dog. That's the nigga. You couldn't not. It was bad enough that you couldn't have, like, you know how people had their little porch chairs on their porch and plants. The crackheads were stealing anything with nailed down, so people had to start nailing they furniture to the porch so the crackhead wouldn't steal it, plants and shit. But one day, this motherfucker came to my daddy's store, because you know crackheads, they always trying to sell shit. He had an address, somebody's address off their goddamn house, trying to sell it. Somebody stole my grandmother's address. My grandma had I don't know, maybe it was because it was the kind of, I know it sounds dumb. My dad was so mad. My dad was like, the fuck I'm gonna do with the address? The address was like 3452, I think. 3452, I think. Something like that. My dad was like, what the fuck? Take this shit back. The fuck up a D1 cussing. But he was like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do with that? You used to a plate enough. Man, if you don't, he was so pissed. He grabbed the dude by the shoulder, put him out. But my grandmother's got stolen too. And I realized, I guess it was she had the kind, so my grandmother's little front yard, you know how they had those light posts? It's like a light. Like, it looks like a little lighthouse, and then they hang the address like it's a metal, the wrought iron metal address hanging off of it. They took that, and I think it's maybe because of the metal, they was trying to, because they only took, it was a rash of those kind of things where they was stealing, because they would steal your wrought iron, your gate, anything metal, and I think that's what it was. So hers got stolen, but that boy, that was so funny. He was like, man, if you don't get out of here, what the, you come on, man, give me $20. What am I gonna do with the address? Put that address back on that lady's house. Oh man, I'll never forget that day. That was so funny. No, my dad was sweeping. He was sweeping the floor. That dude came in. Everybody knew my dad. Rafiq, yo, I got an address. Dad stopped. He turned around. He was like, what? Dude had, look, he was like, man, if you don't take that address back, what am I doing with it? Get out of here. Oh, God. But anyway, that's how ridiculous it was. People were selling their babies, bro. People was like, here, all right, you can have my baby, hold my baby. I don't never understood why you would take a baby. Like, but people would do that. Like, they would hold people's babies and for crack. And I'm like, why do you have that baby? What are you going to do with it? But I don't know. Like, they would do it. And they wouldn't do nothing to the baby. They would just have the baby. And I'm not really sure. And then she would come back, but a lot of times they didn't. After a while, they didn't come back. And that baby ended up in foster care. And that's what a lot of these kids we got now is coming from. But, yeah, it was a great ending. I thought it chronicled it well. It just showed, if you came away from that not understanding that what they were trying to show you was how that shit is not worth it, how it destroyed lives, how it destroyed the community. If you go watch that first season and look how that neighborhood was, and then go to the last one and see how it was, that was happening all over the country. In cities all over the country. Philly, DC, Chicago, Detroit, LA, and LA was even worse because they had the gang stuff on top of that, so there's an extra layer. Miami, everywhere. It was just everywhere. The whole country was in grips. It even moved out to the suburbs, you know, but it was a terrible, terrible, terrible time. And it really did not subside. I feel it really did not subside. And when I say subside, not that it went away, but like it was not as, they weren't shooting out. It was not as crazy as it was when we were younger. I want to say like 98. 97, 98. That's because the crime bill, I believe, had kicked in by then, and so a lot of them had been sent to jail for the 20-25 years, so they was off the streets. Okay, and so whoever was doing in the 2000s, I know that's The Wire and all that shit, but I'm telling you, however bad that was, it was nothing compared to what we grew up in. There was not shooting out in broad daylight. There was not crackheads and fiends everywhere. They was out there, but they wasn't everywhere. It wasn't like the mayor of DC caught smoking crack. Like, that's the reason why when that happened, like my senior year, around my senior year of high school, I can't recall. But the main reason I did not go to school in DC, because Georgetown recruited me. What's the other school down there? Not George, the other one, Georgetown. There's another George school down there. One of them presidents recruited me, but mainly Georgetown. I was really kind of looking at, because back then that's when Georgetown was still the shit. But that was when DC was the murder capital. It was even more violent than Philly, which was hard to believe because Philly was very violent. Also didn't go to University of Miami. I was gonna go. My dad was like, "You ain't going to Miami," and I was like, "Why, Sunshine?" And this is back when. Well, no. I had wanted to go to Miami from earlier. Remember when Miami used to win the championships, 88, 89, they won them back-to-back, so I always kind of was hyped with Miami. So by the time, my dad was like, "You ain't going to fucking Miami." I was like, why? He was like, "You are not going down there. There ain't nothing down there but fucking crime and drugs. You're not going to fucking Miami." So I was like, all right, that was out. So, I had no interest in going to HBCU. God bless y'all, but I was tired of niggas. I didn't want to be nowhere near no black people. I was like, get me as far away from the inner city as you can. That's why I didn't go to Penn. My dad was begging me, crying the blues, trying to get me to go to the University of Pennsylvania because he didn't want me to leave home. And I was like, I am not staying here. I'm not staying in Philadelphia. I'm getting the fuck on. And I went to Cornell because it was way in upstate New York and it looked very white and very Caucasian, and that's what I wanted. I did not want no Negroes. I was Negroed out. And so, those of us, y'all millennials, that's why we really, Gen X, we really don't got it for y'all, because y'all whine and complain a lot about all the shit y'all went through, and it's like, bro, we went through all that, plus all the shit before. Y'all really didn't go through nothing. Like, y'all didn't. The shit y'all be complaining about, we went through that y'all complaining about, plus the 2 before, plus the 3 before that, plus the crack, plus the AIDS. Dog, we came up in a very, very turbulent time. We are survivors. We don't talk about that shit too much, but trust and believe. Gen X, we are like we are for a reason, because we some milk box material. We was on milk boxes. They were snatching kids. It was like, bruh, we went through it. So that's why we don't really have it for y'all complaining about the shit. Y'all be like, nigga, y'all came by after shit was safe. The crime bill, y'all complained about, nigga, y'all wasn't out here when they was shooting in the streets like this. Y'all wasn't out here when people, with moms and babies had to sleep in their bathtub because the bullets was just raining through ridiculously, and they was killing witnesses, and they was killing cops, and y'all please with it. We don't want to hear it, because y'all did not go through what we went through, and we are all of us got PTSD from that shit, and that's why we don't play with these druggy drugs like y'all do. That's why we don't take cocaine like a recreational drug and a party drug like y'all do. Because that's how niggas start out. Nobody just started smoking crack. They all started with cocaine, then they went to crack. So that's, if you Gen X, I'm telling you, we don't. If it ain't weed, it's crack. We don't do don't bring that cocaine out around. And those of us who did, guess where they are? Crackheads. Those are the crackheads that we were talking about, and they ain't doing much better. We did not fuck around. I do not mess around. I don't look. If you can do cocaine and maintain it, I know there are some people that can do it every now and then. I know that, but I feel like people be addicts more than they realize. And if you're doing it every weekend, then you're not maintaining. You're doing that shit every weekend, and pretty soon that turns into you a fucking cokehead, and then God forbid a crackhead, because crack is back. I don't know if y'all know, but it's back now, and I think it's not a coincidence. It's back around the time that all these dudes that was locked up for 30, 40 years are starting to now get out, and they don't know how to do nothing else, and all of a sudden now crack is back. I don't know, maybe it's a coincidence, but I don't think that it is. Anyway, excellent finale. I love the way they show Franklin being down bad because a lot of them ended up like that. And I know y'all think everybody turned into Jay-Z, but they did not. A lot of them, they came home, they went to jail or whatever, or with the new laws, they can confiscate your money. If you can't show a legal source of income, that's what all the money laundering laws are about. If you cannot show a legitimate flow of income, they gonna steal it. They take it. They confiscate it. And so what you gonna do? A lot of them ended up like that, and even older now. We were just talking about this. People was like, "Oh, well, it wouldn't have happened that fast." Yes, it did. Like Franklin actually had a long run. The guys in the 80s could run longer than the guys in the 90s. By the time the 90s came, they just blow you out your shoes and take your corner. But in the 80s, like, it seemed like a long time, but like guys would be like the man for like a year or two. Then they either get arrested, they had to go on a run, or they get killed. And then another one step up, and maybe they had it for a month or two, a year or two, maybe 6, 8 months. It was just one to come. They get killed, they get murdered, they get locked up. They had to go on a run, whatever the case. Everybody watched BMF. Even they ended up in jail. But look, a lot of them ended up like Franklin, a lot. And so I thought it was great that they showed that, because all of this for what? You did all of this for what? And now your neighborhood is ruined. And that was a good shout out to John Singleton filming on Boys in the Hood. That was excellent. And a nice shout out. But and for what? Look at the neighborhood. Look at the people. Look at the death and destruction y'all have wrought that we are still paying for to this day. All these fucking glassy-eyed kids and just raised by these fiends and not raised by these fiends and addicts and coming up in foster care, and parents was on drugs and all this shit, all of that shit that y'all did, all that devastation y'all bought, and for what? So y'all can have a little bit of money for a little while? You ain't even do nothing with it. The smart ones, the Jay-Z's, the rappers, some of them, okay, they got into the music business, some of them, but even some of them, we see, they still dying now from drugs, It wasn't worth it. And that's what that showed. It was not worth it. And I just thought it was great, and I think all y'all was looking for some heroes ending. Y'all missed the whole point of the series. Y'all missed the whole point of the show, and y'all didn't get the message. But I thought it was great. I love the way they brought it. I feel like that last episode brought it back to the tone of the first and second seasons. Like, hey, this is real. We not glamorizing this shit. We not trying to, this ain't no Jason Bourne type shit. This ain't no Scarface we doing here. Even though Scarface kind of went the same way, but y'all know what I'm saying. In the middle years, it was getting a little bit like Power, and then they brought it back, and I just thought it was great. I thought it was an excellent ending, and bravo to that show. And if y'all haven't seen it, y'all should watch it. Yeah, okay. So that's it. That's all I had to say. I managed to get through without coughing too much. I fucked up. I didn't have my water. I apologize. I'm going to try to edit out that doorbell thing, but, it just might be on there. So, look, thanks for y'all patience. Thanks for waiting. Like me, rate me, tell a friend. I appreciate y'all adding me on TL. I found out that people listen that I don't even know listen. Shout out to y'all. Hello, hi, thank you. Yeah, and that's it. See y'all next week. Peace.